Ready?
Yes.
Okay, so I will begin with a very special affirmative prayer. We call it spiritual mind treatment, just to distinguish it from the way we usually think of prayer. Okay, so this word is being spoken for each one. And if there is anyone or any place on the planet that you would like to have included, just think of their name now or that place now and know that the infinite mind knows what you mean, and this word includes them too. Okay. There is only one life. This universe is an expression of that life. This universe is in harmony, in balance, operating in perfect right order and divine right action. Only an infinite intelligence could create, orchestrate, and support, sustain, and maintain such an expression of infinite complexity. And so it is this infinite intelligence that is recognized right now. An intelligence that knows all, that is the cause of all, the creator of all, and it knows how to arrange everything so that everything is moving in relationship with everything else, so that the highest and the greatest good of each and every created entity within the whole is in harmony with everything else. This is only a mind of God that can do such a thing, that can know such a thing. And all human attempts to define God by the limited experience of human rationalization and reasoning is all let go and loosed as each one accepts that the mind of God is so infinite, so all-encompassing, so all-knowing that all that it is and all that it can do can only be sensed by one's own personal experience, but is forever an infinite mystery. And that is okay, because each one is a part of this infinite mystery, and in the infinite intelligence knowing, each one has a place and is guided in this universe to always be in the right place at the right time for the highest and the greatest good of all. This infinite intelligence is the creator of each one's earthly body. Only God can create this body and continuously support it, sustain it, and maintain it. And the actual processes within this earthly body are also divinely orchestrated. And so the divine orchestration is one of harmony and one of peace and one of always everything in the right place at the right time for the highest and the greatest good of the earthly body. And so each one is experiencing this as perfect systems and processing of the body, perfect assimilation, circulation, and elimination. Each and every cell knows where it is. And even though it has within it infinite possibility to operate wherever it is located, it is guided to be where it is and given only those instructions of what it needs to do for the greatest good of the whole body. And so that which is true of every single cell is true of every organ. Every organ has a divine blueprint behind it that is the cause of its operation. And so every single organ of each one's being is operating according to that divine blueprint and operating in a harmonious way with every other organ in the earthly body. So each one is having a perfect communication and interaction of the infinite parts that make up that whole body, just as much as everything in this universe is in a harmonious action with everything else to make up the whole universe. Wholeness, perfection and completeness is omnipresent. And each one accepts that that is the truth, that health is built in to the divine operation, that it is always creating a healthy body, that God can only know a healthy body, and that any belief that one needs to help God or make a healthier body is erased, evaporated, and vanished. Each one knows and realizes that the simple recognition and realization and acceptance of the divine plan and design of the human body is the body that he or she has been given. And so each one relaxes, accepts, agrees, cooperates mentally, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, and physically with this divine operation of health and vitality expressing through one's human form. So each one is the picture of health. Each one is experiencing perfect right order and divine right action. Each one is enjoying the goodness of having this earthly body. And each one realizes that the divine purpose of creating a form in any way is to express itself. And so the whole purpose of being given this earthly body is to express the divinity that is God in, through, and as a human expression. And so God always supports its own creation. And the God that is the knower, creator of all, definitely supports its highest creation. And each one is uniting with that divine in full agreement, and therefore each one is enjoying the vitality of that divine support fully, completely, and totally. Each one is relaxed, accepting, enjoying this divine form of creation that is God's, and uses it in enjoyment, in wisdom, and in love. This word is the truth. I'm grateful that this is the truth. And so I release this word to that law, which is already making it so. And all that this love does is change everyone's belief to correspond, accept, and agree with that truth. Yes. And so it is.
And so it is.
So it is.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm John Heron, and I am a practitioner here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Princeton. And thank you, Reverend Karen, for that wonderful treatment. Reverend Karen is our speaker for today. And who are we? We are a loving, healing, and inclusive community which teaches and practices the principles of the science of mind for the well-being and spiritual growth of ourselves and the world. And that's why we're here. So I'm going to ask you a question based on things I heard in Reverend Karen's treatment. What if you knew that today you were going to hear something that opened up a place that lives inside of you in a new way, filled with love, filled with peace, filled with all those wonderful qualities present? And what if you listened to Reverend Karen's talk knowing that that's about to happen? Why don't you try that today and see what shows up? Because that's why we're here. We're here together as a community of loving, of the presence of the divine. And so this week, Reverend Karen is going to be talking about security in a changing world, based on the book Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth. And next week, Reverend Karen will be talking more from Spiritual Economics. The subject will be work and the success syndrome. And on the 17th, I will be doing a workshop on the teachings of Emma Curtis Hopkins. And it also happens to be St. Patrick's Day. So we're going to have Emma meet St. Patrick on the 17th. I told Emma to dress in green. So we will also be having a repast after the service here. People will be bringing food. If you would like to bring something, and we would love some of those people who listen from home, come down here to River Road, to the Masonic Lodge, and join us and have some food and listen to, participate in a wonderful workshop. That's on the 17th. And if you would like to bring food, please contact Susan Neat. You'll find her information. She's one of our practitioners. It's on our website. So we are together going to be doing a meditation. I'm sorry?
March 24th.
Regina's reminding me that on March 24th, she is going to be doing a workshop. What's the subject?
Not a lesson.
A lesson. What's the title of the lesson?
The molds we create.
The molds we create. So we have a wonderful march. The mold, not the mold we create. The molds.
Right.
Yes, we create. So we have a wonderful, every Sunday, we have a time for you to focus on the deeper places inside of you, the love that lives inside of you, and we have those scheduled, we know, through the end of April, and we continue every Sunday to have a Sunday celebration. And we ask you to join us. We're going to do a meditation. For those who are here, we're going to repeat it. We're going to do My Quantum Leap, because I like that one, My Quantum Leap. If you're at home, my suggestion is just listen to it, see where the words land, see what calls to you. Because remember, there's a truth that you're going to hear today that's going to release something that you've been living inside of yourself but didn't know was there. Today, everybody here, let's repeat it together.
Oh, okay.
And as if you meant it, okay? Today, my consciousness shifts to a deeper spiritual awareness. I take a quantum leap into a greater understanding of one spirit as my life. A new freedom is mine. I contribute joyously to life, and I respond receptively to life's outpouring of good. My attitude toward life is enthusiastic. Every challenge is met with poise and a feeling of dominion. Creative mind supplies me with every spiritual idea I need for fulfillment, and I live abundantly and joyously. This is my day of demonstration as the bountiful Spirit expresses more fully in my world. The outmoded pictures of living are gone forever. The old subconscious tapes of limited thinking are erased. A new imprint of life as freedom, ease, wholeness, and joy is the permanent record in my mental storehouse. I feel the vigor of a fresh energy. I am reborn this day. Each experience reflects my new awareness. I am conscious of the forward surging of the divine life as me, and I rejoice. I release this word to the loving law, and so it is.
Your generous contribution to this purpose.
And so, now our practitioner, Gary Torres, will lead us.
Good morning. I've been thinking this morning and the last couple of days about what a sense of humor means. We're going to be talking about dealing with change appropriately. One of the things that we sometimes, at least I have to deal with sometimes, is taking things way too seriously and worrying about, oh, this is going to change, or this isn't going to change. What am I going to do? So I had a couple little for lack of a better word, parables that I wanted to relate. The first couple of them are about the times that we don't like the way things are. We want them to be different. And they're very short ones. The first one is from a Sufi thing about a man looking for his keys under a searchlight, under the street lamp. And somebody comes to him and says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm looking for my keys." "Oh, where did you drop them?" "Oh, about 200 feet over that way." "Well, why are you looking here? There's more light." so this is we get into. We're gonna get this to work my way. It's another classic thing is about. Okay, let me get back to this one. There's another thing about the times that we accept things that have changed, maybe a little too much, because we're not paying attention to what the broader situation is. And there's a classic story there about a person who had a son, and the son fell off his horse one day and broke his leg. And everybody in the village was saying, "This is just terrible. The son has broken his leg. He can't ride his horse anymore. Whatever." Next day, well, the country they were in was at war, and the next day, a detachment of troops came through and conscripted all the men who were able-bodied. And of course, the son is there with a broken leg. They leave him alone, and they keep going. And everybody says, "This is wonderful. This person is still here, and his leg isn't, yes, it's still in a cast, but he can do things, and he can help us out," because most of the people that were left there were older or younger, so young that they couldn't do terribly much. And this guy was there to help them out. And everybody was saying, "This is just wonderful." Well, the story goes on through a bunch of other changes that happen, and each time the villagers say, "Oh, this is wonderful," or "This is terrible." And they don't say that in the long run, everything changes and everything works out one way or another. So another thing I wanted to bring up was that there is a fantastic little, a very old Monty Python skit that I just love, which includes a song called Galaxy Song. And I won't do the whole song. You can listen to it anytime. It's on YouTube. But there's a classic line in there about, we are here in a universe where everything's moving very, very quickly. Even so, it's so huge that it takes 200 million years for the entire solar system to go all the way around the galaxy. So there's a certain amount of stability. Maybe we need to be a little bit patient sometimes when we're saying, "Oh, this isn't quite where I want it to be." If it's something that really matters, it'll be back. If it's something that doesn't matter, it'll be gone. I think that's enough of the little. And I'll do a little spiritual mind treatment. There is only one. There is one mind, one power, one authority in the universe. It's called by many names. It's called love, light, life, power, peace, beauty. It's called God. It's called Allah. It's called Brahman. Whatever name you give it, that's what it is for you, because you are created in the image and likeness of this one. That fact means that everything that this one does lives within us, lives through us, and we are therefore able to determine to be the creator in our own life, of our own life. Therefore, there's nothing that we need to really, really worry about, because if we worry about it, we're going to create the outcome of worrying. If we don't worry about it and say, we know that there is a greater power, and the greater power is working through me, that power working through me will do exactly what is necessary for my life to be as it is. I know that this is true. I know it's true for everyone listening to this word. as I release this word to the law, knowing that it's already always done, and so it is.
So it is.
That would be me.
Yes. and there's still you.
Oh, it's still me. Well, hello again. I'm Karen Kushner, and I am using my beat-up book, Spiritual Economics, by Eric Butterworth. I actually was thinking I really ought to buy another copy of this because it's starting to fall apart. But I like all my little notes. I like to see where I was the many other times that I read it. And every single page has highlights and different color arrows and asterisks and little stars and, double arrows. This is really circles. It's just a mess. Eric Butterworth was the spiritual leader of a Unity church in New York City. Very successful. They met at Lincoln Center every Sunday. They actually met across the street from the community, the spiritual group that I attended. It was called the Religious Science Church. What was it called? The Religious Science Church
Church of Religious Science.
First Church of Religious Science, New York City. They met at a short little street across from each other. And at one point, when the spiritual leader of my community was thinking of moving there, he checked with Eric Butterworth about whether that would interfere or be a competition with what he was doing, because they both met on Sundays and they both had thriving congregations. And Eric Butterworth said, "Oh no, it'll just make it easier for our people. When they get mad at me, they can just cross the street and go to you, and vice versa." So I like that little story because that's what Eric Butterworth was about. He didn't believe in competition. And in this book, Spiritual Economics, he states in the clearest way the spiritual truths and explanations of them in the real world that have to deal with how we live in work, in money. And the main point of everything is your consciousness or your beliefs is the cause to your experience of the world. And as human beings, we tend to believe in getting our good from what's going on in the world. So his chapter, Security in a Changing World, is really about getting clear, again, that it's your consciousness that you can depend upon, and that you will never, ever be able to get any security from anything in the world. Not your life partner, not your bank account, certainly not your investments, not your IRA plan, your 401k, not your ownership of your house. None of that is secure. And when we put our security in what these things are, we are doomed to a wake-up call because it will change. It is the nature of the world to change. I like whatever somebody was saying about change, lots of changing going on, talked about already so far, but the nature of the world and everything in it is to change. So how can we be secure because we've got something? Thinking it's not going to change. I don't even care if it's a whole bunch of gold that you've got in your corner closet. The value of that gold will change. And he wrote this book back in 1980 something. I think it's hysterical because he talks about at one point about being secure in your investments, and maybe you're worried that the stock market might fluctuate. And we, 40, 50 years later or something, we're like, fluctuations in the stock market. I mean, we expect it now. We realize that it's nature to change. So what does he say? What is security? He says, it depends upon what we think security is. If we are thinking of security in terms of protective barriers and a continuous provision for food, clothing, shelter, heat, light, medical care, then the most secure individual is a life-term convict in a penitentiary. Because you're trying to keep everything the same. And we can't, including ourselves. It's all going to change. He said, this was back then, most public opinion surveys indicate that the one thing most people desire in life is security. Well, since this book was written, we actually discovered on 9/11 day that not even our national safety is secure anymore. We have, oh my gosh, if you watch television, they've got all, I'm wondering if every single commercial has behind it a promise of some sort of security. We've got, now if you own your home, you gotta be secure about your title, because somebody could take your title, or you gotta have stuff because of your computer, because there's people who are out to get you. I have a few friends, myself included in the past, but recently, people who have fallen for scams. And so there's all these people who are trying to, whatever. He talks at great length about our need for insurance. And another great spiritual leader at the time, Robert Bitzer, confessed in one of his workshops on money that he never saved a penny. And he doesn't tell people like that because they get upset. They worry for him. But he thought early on, I'm not going to save money for a rainy day because I'll get the rainy day. And he was so grounded in his consciousness is the cause of his experience of money that he was undisturbed. And his whole life, he was always completely financially and in every other way provided. He gave a little story that he was back then, 60, 50 years ago, again, that he had an avenue of income about $8,000, which ended. And he went right back to spiritual truth. I am the cause. And that within me, which created that avenue of 8,000, has not gone anywhere. In other words, your belief in truth, your conviction, has not gone anywhere unless you change your mind, but it's still there and it shall produce another avenue. And he did get another avenue, bringing him $12,000 a year, which at the time was a lot of money. So we need to realize that this, which is spiritual truth and which has been demonstrated by ourselves in the past or by other people, that has not changed. Spiritual truth does not change. We have the ability to say, I am. I am. And notice how you change what you say after I am based upon the circumstances in the world. Years ago, I was in the workforce. My first job in a bank, I met a man. Well, actually, before that, I worked for the government. And back then, you thought low pay, but you have job security for life. They will never fire you. And I left that world to go into the private sector. So it was a bank. And my very first boss was, we were in a little corner of the bank that dealt with numbers, I guess money, budgets, a lot of figures and stuff. And we had files and files and files of how to calculate these numbers and the history of these numbers. And at one point I asked him, why are we were like holding the history of the bank in our little department. And I asked him why, and he said, job security. He wouldn't tell anyone how we calculated stuff. It was our job security. Well, he got promoted or left or went elsewhere, so much for him and his job security, because he went elsewhere, have to build another little fiefdom there. And the next person who came in and took over the job took one look at all those cabinets and threw everything out. And I was like, job security, it's all gone. Oh my God, no one else has this information. It's all gone. And she's like, throw it out, throw it out, throw it out. She shook me all up, and she shook up my belief in security, because after a year or so, she decided she wanted to fire me. And, what was I to do? What was I to do? I knew I was one of the best of the company or in that particular area, but, whatever. Job security, life security, money security. We need to realize, and all coaches and believers in the spiritual truth realize that it is God that is the cause, that is the creator. God is the creator. And we have a commandment that tells us, is it the first commandment? I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. This is not a jealous God up there going, I'm the one, don't look there, I'm the one. It's not about selfishness or self-centeredness at the part of the divine. It's a statement of spiritual law. If you want to be happy, healthy, fully supported, and enjoy your life and have wonderful relationships, then you go to the cause. I am as your source. And we do not put any other gods before, whether it's money or my bank account or my job or what the doctor says or this particular vaccine or this insurance policy, because over my lifetime and more, the more recent time, I have heard anyone and everyone give me at least one story of how disappointed they are in something or someone who did not deliver as promised. Right? Myself, I get so angry when I go onto the internet and my computer stops working. I go into a rage. It's supposed to work. You go to one website, it's supposed to do this. I look at this past weekend, the past 24 hours, I had in my head my plan for how I successfully complete my income taxes. It's worked every year for 40 years. 40 years with the same accountant. This is the way we do it. And on Friday they called me up and they're like, no, this is the way. And I'm like, where did you write this is the way? How dare you change this? And luckily I stopped myself enough, and the divine guidance within me said, shut up and get it done. Oh, okay. And I got it done. Maybe a little bit later last night than I liked, but I got it done. The thing is, the world, the MO, the way the world operates must be one of change. It is the nature of our bodies, of this room, of our agreements, of the operational procedures, of the laws, of other human beings. It is the nature for everything to change. What does not change are the eternal qualities of the divine. Life, light, love, power, peace, beauty, harmony, joy. And what also does not change is the law of creation. It creates based upon what we believe. We change what we believe, and what is created gets changed, but the process of using what we believe to create our world, that process never changes. And so to have security, we have got to get crystal clear and remind ourselves whenever something in our world changes and disturbs us, we need to go back to, no, my consciousness of God is the cause of what I experience. And that does not have to change. Just because a fact in your world changes does not mean that your belief in God has to change, right? Because we get disappointed in something. Like I know many people who, at the moment we're riding high on our investments, right? Yay, whatever. But we know in a year, because of the way, Actually, I listened to an investment advisor on Friday who was saying, well, the second and the third years of the political cycle are always boom years, and the first and the fourth are all shifting and changing, no matter who is elected. So you're like, okay, if what he has to say is true, and it may be true so far, factually, but even that statement will change, because what is the cause? And what we need to ask ourselves every time we get disturbed by something changing in the outer, we need to go back within and we need to ask ourselves, has my belief in God changed? Does it have to? Just because the stock market plummeted, do I have to change my belief that God is my support? Maybe I need to change my portfolio so that it's not strictly dependent upon the ups and downs of the financial markets. Maybe I need to do something about that. But it's not how I change my portfolio that will bring me my security in my finances. It's my consciousness. I need to change my consciousness. So after I worked for that bank and the woman who was out to fire me, at the time I was an atheist. So of course I don't call on God, except for God was there. And I remember having a weekend of internal hell. I was so filled with fear and being trapped, and this woman and something happened to me that weekend. I had a spiritual realization without knowing what I realized. But I called in sick on Monday, which I never ever did, even when I was sick, because I'm a good employee, right? And being a good employee is what I can be secure about, why they won't fire me, right? Well, that was going to hell. And while I had that day off on Monday, it occurred to me, you have enough money in your savings to be without a job for 6 months. All right. I walked in and resigned. And I did it by memo. And I copied my boss's boss in the memo and sent it before she came in. Well, of course, what I didn't know was her boss had said, if one more officer of the company quits, you're out. So when she got the memo that I quit, and he had a copy of it, she freaked, and they gave me a transfer to a lovely place where I healed and prospered and thrived for many years thereafter. So even not knowing God, and even not believing in God, something still was in me, guiding me. And yes, each one of us can be secure in that within us, which is guiding us, even when we might not have the best belief in God that we think we could have. Something within us, it's God, the divine spiritual guidance system, whatever, it's within us, it's guiding us, and it wants good for us. We can trust it. But then we have to get clear about how it operates in us, right? Like, what's my guidance? Have you ever had that experience where you have to make an important decision and you're like, where's my guidance? What's my guidance? I don't know. Well, it's because because for me now, what it is I don't like my guidance. So I won't listen to it. It's too subtle. What it usually says is, we've got sticky floors here, and someone's walking, and their feet are sticking into the floor. And aren't we angry about that? Right? We should have clean floors. What was I saying? Guidance. So for me, my guidance, when I have big decisions to make about my whole life or something, my guidance is usually, shut up, all is well. And I'm like, what kind of guidance is that? Should I do this? Should I do that? No, guidance is what you need. I am that I am that I am. That divine presence in us is the only way we can become secure in living in this mad world. And that need to be secure is what it causes, right, so much social anger and upset and disturbance and arguments and fighting and calling names and everything else, because we need to be secure, and everybody is a moving object. And when the world realizes, when the consciousness of the human race realizes that I am that I am is the security, and that I am the cause in my world, then all of that will disappear. It will. Because with all the arguments and all the debates and whoever it is who gets elected, none of it is cause. We're in an election year, right? No matter who gets elected, if you believe that whoever it is has to be elected in order for you to feel safe, secure, happy, peaceful, included, belonging, in order for you to get the freedom to live your life the way you desire, in order for you to receive the good that you crave, then, I forget how the sentence began, but if you believe that, you're doomed. It doesn't matter whether the good guy wins or the bad guy wins. It doesn't matter, because it's the good guy, whoever that is for you, wins this time and will lose the next time. And you will be bouncing back and forth, insecure. It's like, if the good guy wins for you, or you've got lots of money, like right now, right? The stock market is increasing. I'm like, look at all that money. I got it now, right? I can live without doing a thing the rest of my life, right? That's great and that's wonderful, but it is doomed to change. And we are building a brick house on the Jersey Shore. Or the California shore. It is doomed because everything is shifting. We need to realize that and get clear about it. Everything's going to change, just as Gary's great story of the kid who fell off the horse and then the army came and he couldn't get conscripted. Okay, that's really great. That was bad. This is good. That is our everyday experience. And you even experience it, right, in your own experience of day. Maybe you wake up in a great mood and then you have a conversation with someone who just got a horrible diagnosis. And your mood, right? Suddenly you're just totally disturbed. All of that is evidence and a signal to us that we need to refocus our dependency from what's happening in our world to that which is eternal and infinite within us. It's so funny. I'm so grateful that the center chose that spiritual mind treatment by my teacher, Dr. Stuart Grayson. He made his transition a number of years ago. And as I read it, I thought of him. And I thought, oh, he'll be there to meet me if and when I should cross over. And I was very, very happy about that. And I really believe that. And I'm looking forward to that, should I choose to do such a thing. And yet at the same time, I'm very, very concerned about my friend who has received a diagnosis of something that is incurable with so many moments of life left to live. I'm not believing in eternal life when I think of him. But I know it's true when I think of Dr. Grayson. It's me that is confused. And so as we read that, I was reminded, oh yeah, Dr. Grayson. So I realized now why I'm upset about my friend is because I believe in the earthly body as being the evidence of life. And that's a sad thing. But when I realized he is eternal life, then what's your problem? I've got the personal experience to deal with. Yeah. And as Benjamin Franklin has said, it's our friend has gone on a voyage, and we shall surely join them. So why are we upset? We're upset by changing conditions because on some degree, in some level, we have built our security, our safety, our good upon that condition. We know we've done it when it changes, and we have a reaction. So what do? What to do? Let me see. He says, you can't get a prosperity consciousness on the stock market. You can't achieve true security through insurance. And you won't get rich simply by saving your money. But if you work diligently to establish yourself in the consciousness of the divine flow of substance, actually get the feeling that you live in the boundless sea of affluence, then by the steadying and supportive influence of this consciousness, your assets, your affairs, your savings all become a vehicle for prosperity. He says one must work diligently at the continuing process of keeping the whole self alive, fully functioning, and turning within. God is my source. God is my source. God is my source. I remember in the last job that I had before I became the spiritual director here, I was working this, and I would receive the paycheck. Back then you got physical paychecks. I would receive the paycheck, and I would look at it, and I would say, no. God is the source of this money. God is the source. And it is my consciousness, my belief, my mental equivalent about my level of money and of good that determines how much of this I receive. From his book, if you have been around for a while and not been promoted, give yourself a promotion. You are the cause. And next week we'll be talking about creating your work form, actually creating it. No one can take away a job that you created in your consciousness. There is no competition, right? So we do all this. He says secure means, comes from two Latin words meaning without care. Be like the bird that pausing in her flight while on boughs too slight, feels them give way beneath her, and yet sings, knowing she hath wings. Victor Hugo. You may be surrounded by grim forebodings of job layoffs, inflation, recession. You wrote this in 1980, right? You're like, you knew nothing. But you may be able to, you may not be able to keep difficulties from happening around you. And occasionally he says you may be under the water. But from the Bible, consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is alive and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O ye of little faith? Do not be anxious, saying, what shall we eat? What shall we drink? What shall we wear? What's going to happen? Your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first the kingdom and divine righteousness, and all these things be yours as well. So seek the kingdom of heaven first, right? You've all heard that one before. When you're disturbed from the outside, don't try to fix it. Don't try to grab it. Seek first. I am that I am. What is the spiritual truth I believe? Let me stand upon it. Let me stand upon it. And like me, you might like some affirmation or two. Say to yourself, that which has brought me this far shall carry me the rest of the way. Or, reasoning it out, the consciousness of good that I have demonstrated is still mine. It has not been taken away from me because the job was, or the money was, or the person was. My consciousness of love is still with me, and I still have that full experience of love. And I still have my consciousness of money. After I left the bank, and I left the bank because of this teaching, I left the bank because I realized that no matter how much money I made at that bank, I would never feel secure. And I'm in this teaching, and I'm like, well, you hate the job. You want to quit. There's no reason to stay for the money because there's never enough money that you will have saved that will make you feel secure. And so I said, let me stand on this truth. I'm quitting this job in order to learn what financial security is without that job. And I quit. What a joy I had spending every penny I had saved from that bank job. And when I decided, well, you need to do something about this because now you need to get some money coming in, whatever, I then embarked on an experience of expressing myself where I was fully supported and fully growing. But no matter what crazy little job I took, I always felt confident that I could leave it if it was not to my liking in any way because I didn't need the money. I knew I would be guided to the right place, the right job, the right avenue, the right whatever, so I will be fully supported. I needed to demonstrate and experience that standing in the truth for my own self. And I did. And I have to remind myself of that over and over and over again as the changing world keeps changing. But because I've demonstrated it that much, I can stand here now and tell myself, okay, that consciousness didn't go anywhere. So claim the consciousness that you've built, that the spiritual truth that you have embodied. Claim it. It didn't go anywhere. Let's stand on it and let's see the evidence that we can be secure in trusting the truth that we have earned by right of our work in consciousness. We can trust that. And it will deliver, and it will. All right, so we want to move forward now and doing something, and then I'll come back and do a special spiritual mind treatment for us after we have done, I think, an offering is going to happen. Right? Okay, let's move forward. Somebody's going to be doing something.
So now's our time to focus the fact that Spirit supports us in every way at all times, as Reverend Karen has taught us so wonderfully, and this is our time to express that in terms of the Center for Spiritual Living Princeton. We love receiving your blessing by sharing your abundance with us. That's how we continue to have these meetings every Sunday. And so this is the time to focus on that. For those of you who are here, we will pass this plate around. If you're at home, you can go to our webpage, and if you go to the bottom of the page, there is a place where you can donate to our center, to support our center, so that this particular expression of the divine continues to be available to all of us. And right now, I'm just going to read a little treatment. We do not give because God needs the gift, but because the giving increases, broadens, and deepens the life of the giver. That is each one of us. Nor shall we give from the standpoint of duty. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to support this. No, the one support is the divine. The universe refuses to bargain with us. It already has given us everything it has. But it also has provided that the gift of life can be received in its fullness only as it flows through us to the fullness of others. So, knowing the divine presence right here and now, this is the time for you to recognize the infinite abundance that is you, that is us. That is Regina. And so, Reverend Karen, would you do a closing
Yes,
treatment?
I will. A little bit of history of this particular Center for Spiritual Living Princeton. When I first came here, very, very teeny community at that time. But we had a practitioner who really stood on truth. Now Reverend Dr. Ian Taylor. And we were talking about the collection and it didn't, how it flowed in the thing, the service, whatever, what to do about it. And he said, if we stand in the truth that God is our source, why do we have a collection at all? Why don't we just have it in a basket in the back of the room? And the board at that time was in agreement. Let's stand in our truth. And for a decade, I think, we did not do a collection. And we didn't even mention the money. And we grew and grew. We grew from, we probably 10,000 a year to over 150,000 a year in that time, and bought a building. So, and then the community in classes who would be in prosperity classes would have that experience of the offering plate and said, wait a minute, this is a spiritual practice and we want that practice of knowing circulation. And so whether you are able or guided to actually contribute money or not, you get to participate in the practice of knowing I belong. I am a part of this. And I can give what I have to give, which is good thoughts, which is love, which is blessings, maybe which is some money, a form, a symbol of the love that I am. And so from that point on, we've done the offering circulation again. But it's a spiritual practice. It's not a way to get money. Not in this community. And certainly not in the facts, because in this community, more contribution is made via the internet or mail-in than through that little practice. So don't let yourself get distracted by the passing of the bucket and what it means in other churches and other groups. Oh, they need money. No, we're not about that. No, we've built a consciousness of, no, we're standing on it. This is God's church, and God supplies. And so God's guiding us. Let's know that truth. Anyway, my little memory there as we turn within and know that for ourselves. Well, we know for the Center for Spiritual Living Princeton, we know for ourselves. And Eric Butterworth gives us homework to say this to ourselves until, close your eyes, he says, and let the truth of the words sink into your inmost and deeper than conscious level of mind. Okay. I am secure, for I know who I am, a richly endowed child of God. I am secure in all I do, for I know my oneness with the divine process. I am secure in all I have, for I know my treasure is in my mind, not in my things. I live my life from day to day as if God's supportive substance were as exhaustless and dependable as the air I breathe, which it most certainly is. So this word is for each one. God is omnipresent. That Creator is with each one, creating each one's world and supporting each one in their expression in that world. This Creator is abundant, affluent, rich, infinite, and it is providing in, through, as, and all around each one, all of the substance that each one requires to live this life that has been given and to live it more abundantly. This infinite substance takes the form as supply of money, ideas, wonderful relationships in which to experience love and joy. It supplies each one's earthly body, health and vitality, and it supplies each one with guidance so that each one is always in the right place at the right time, doing and saying the right thing for the highest and greatest good of all, which includes each one's own personal good. God is all. The great I am that I am is I aming itself in creating, supporting, sustaining, and maintaining each one now, and each one now knows it, believes it, is convinced of it, embodying it, and experiencing it in a greater way than ever before. I'm grateful that this is the truth, and that we have a loving law that makes it so. And so it is.
And so it is.
And that's the way it is. See you next week. And that's the end.
I am so blessed.